Hey guys, it's Matt. I'm sure my mood will improve as this goes on. We'll be laughing together by the end. I almost feel better already. When I get pissed at the not nilk, I write. And I've been doing that a lot recently, revising the half page, which is now a full page. This is the most important video / presentation I've ever done. It is all of reality interpreted in one page. But Matt, you've done that before. I've tried to do it before. I've tried to do it in a half page or one long run-on sentence, but this is the one going in the book. Probably the final thing I'll ever write, or maybe I'll write some fiction. Maybe I'll continue Star Wars legacy characters on my own someday. This is going in the final book, which presents our final conclusions of all we've looked at over the past 14 years. This is the final. So I need your input in the comments. If you could hold off as long as possible, I would appreciate it. I can take it. You tell me what is wrong with what I'm presenting. Matt, I like this first part, but this part here, this is wrong, and here's how I would fix it. Or what am I missing? What major part of the interpretation of reality that would need to go into one page am I missing? Now, one proviso here, one little bit of fine print, if you wouldn't mind. A Christian or anybody of any religion, a Hindu, a Buddhist, a Muslim was going to tell me I'm missing their God. Well, that kind of goes without saying. Do you really need to comment that? I'm not going to say, oh, I forgot I missed Jesus. That's not me. I know there are a lot of Christians here, but does that really help us in a comment? I know you would think I'm missing that. I'm not going to work that in. I would hope any comment would be telling me what I'm doing wrong, where I'm going wrong, or what major component of reality I'm missing in this presentation. Anybody new is like, you're going to present all of reality in one page or less. It's a bit arrogant, isn't it? It's like that scene in Top Gun. It's a bit arrogant. Yes, sir. I like that in a pilot. Just remember, when it's all done here, we're all on the same team, one against the not nilk. So I can take it. The comments is incredibly important. I hope you're not already commenting, telling me about the new hee-haw Mandela effect. I don't care about the new hee-haw Mandela effect at this point. Hold off on the comments. Tell me where I'm going wrong. Tell me what I'm missing. I can take it straight up now. Paula Abdul, tell me where it's wrong, and I'll fix it. I'm open-minded enough to fix it. If the following helps anybody, when this is finished, I will cut out all the bullshit, like what I just said, and it'll just be the reading in an MP3 if anybody wants it. I'll get the file size down so it will be able to be emailed. Just let me know if you want it, and I'll send it to you. And finally, I'm not sure about the length of this video. I might talk about certain things or certain sections or clarify or re-explain on the back end. That could go a while. So this reading, is certainly going to be 7 minutes or less, or 5 minutes or less, hopefully. It's going to be very short. It is one page in the book. I couldn't keep it to the half page. Certain things need to be explained. Not everybody's been here with us 10 plus years. So the reading is short. My understanding of reality is very short, but this video might seem long because we'll do a big thing on the back, or as long as necessary. One final proviso: what follows is for real people like me and you. We don't know how many of us there are in this place called Earth. Is there 144,000 of us? Several billion real people? Is it some sort of modified solipsism? There's me, you, Greg, and 5 other people, and that's it? The rest are background characters or organic portals? We don't know how many of us there are. But this is for real people like you and me. Even if you don't live in the United States, you've heard these famous words before associated with a certain document. All men are created equal. Well, what does that mean, men? Is there a spiritual component there? Perhaps men, in this regard, means the flesh, the muscles, the body, the blood. In that case, you and me and Melvin P., it's a new comedy hit series, You, Me, and Melvin P. In that way, as men is defined, we could be the same. We might all be able to stub our toes in the same way. But with that famous line, what about spiritually? All are the same? I don't think so. An NPC type would want nothing to do with the following presentation. It wouldn't even be here. Like Dante in Clerks. If you're here, you're real. Dante says, I shouldn't even be here right now. He must be an NPC. A minion, the secretary or the treasurer of Little George trying to collapse currencies, they wouldn't be interested in what follows. They're not real, meaning they're not the same spiritually. If you're interested in what follows, it's the best news of all time because you're the highest level of incarnation that's here in this place. You existed before birth. You agreed to be here at this moment in time. This reality is a spiritual game of you versus the Not Nilk and its minions. This reality is a spiritual game of you versus the Not Nilk. You begin to win, or start to win, when you understand that the version of you that is here on earth is not the whole of you. The Not Nilk wins by fooling real people into defining themselves by the parts derived from and bound to this place, such as defining yourself from body or ego, certain movements in the last 15 years. Oh, see how that fits in. I'm adding a little bit, guys. The Not Nilk uses the entire society and culture to facilitate a massive trick. Its ruse is structured so you continually look to root to it, make contract with it, and seek its rewards. If you define your life by its standards of success, it has won. It tempts you with looking outside yourself for life's highest answers. The best news is it can't beat you directly. Let me repeat that. It cannot beat you directly. The rules here dictate it must operate through deception, through a trick. You can only beat yourself in this game. In those who have succumbed to the Not Nilk, died, and then lost, it was successful in hiding one's own power from themselves. It is a master at demoralization and learned helplessness. All of science is its silver bullet in this regard. One bookend there is called Einstein, and the other bookend, Darwin. In 2023, it has most people trying to win a boxing match by punching themselves in the face. Dr. F is the cut man in their corner. Seeing the nature of this rigged game is only the first step. There are no gold medals handed out for your truth research. Whatever you've found about the Federal Reserve, or you have new theories about what actually happened to the Titanic. No gold medals in this reality for that. It wants you forever trapped in that bog. The second part is far more important. Beyond seeing the trick, it's actually doing the work. It's using this life to benefit the whole of you, mind, body, and spirit as one. The Not Nilk can still win, though, by disrupting this second half of the football game, with its endless commercial breaks and streakers coming onto the field from the stands. Oh, it'll still try to disrupt your journey. It has an arsenal of weapons and an army of flying monkeys at its disposal in a military branch of its own called the 101st Distraction. If it can keep you in the caterpillar phase, it wins. Most people believe the butterfly isn't even possible, and they do nothing to achieve it. They don't look anywhere but where the Not Nilk says to look. For the malcontents like you and me, who sense at some point in our lives that something is fundamentally wrong with the world, and then those who begin a life of research, there's a critical juncture between the caterpillar and the butterfly stage. It's the Not Nilk's last chance to throw a Hail Mary pass and win. Here, before being checkmated, the Not Nilk offers conspiracy and other fascinating topics so the real you never emerges from the chrysalis stage. You see, you, the pupa wrapped up in the cocoon, has been given high-speed internet and a billion yellow breadcrumbs to chase. Again, it cannot directly stop your progress. You must choose not to be the butterfly by succumbing to its trick. It works the same way every single time. A win in this regard, if one is able to emerge and become the butterfly, is the true meaning of alchemy. It's not lead into gold. That's ridiculous. Everything in this reality is a sidebar bullshit backstory. If you win, that's alchemy. It's also the Holy Grail. On the other end, those who succumb to the trick and lose, this to me is the meaning of Antichrist. We'll talk about this stuff on the back end. You know your efforts are bearing fruit when you see yourself changing into something your 20-year-old self would not recognize. Then you continue to drop baggage here. Use the tools that this earth and life gives you every single day to gather small wins in becoming a better whole. Now, the former part, dropping baggage, has nothing to do with karma. The not-nilk trick in regard to karma is people believing karma is something bigger than the person. The person has to defeat karma. No, like all things here, it's the opposite. Like all things, karma does not exist without the person. Consciousness comes first. We've talked about that. Karma does not exist without real people giving it weight and substance. This last section, very brief, but it's personal to me. I've kind of left room here for those who agree with me about the front two sections, the nature of the trick. You can change a bit here to fit your personal belief set. For me, the final step to winning is as simple as having the realization that this is not the place I want to be after this life has served its purpose. The realization that this is not the place I want to be, or any reality system like it, with a bunch of asshole minions running around trying to get up in my business. After the life has served its purpose, I decide no more of this. It's the understanding that everything is up to you in the end. A believer in karma is subservient to that idea. Simply see this reality exactly the way you want it to be, so it serves you. I believe, personally, the minion creatures like Melvin P. and the other role players here that serve what I call the asshole Dirk, they actually serve me. If you believe the ratio of a dream to the waking world will be the same relationship as the waking world to death, let me say that again. The ratio or correlation from a dream to the waking world could potentially be the same as the waking world to death, just another layer, like the movie Inception presented, then it's likely that simple. Death will be as easy as waking up in the morning from a dream. It's likely we get what we expect, thereby exposing the main reason our power was hidden from us in the first place. So obvious, the not-nilk tactics and why it does what it does. If you fear hell and you're planning for a recycling trap at the moment of your death, well, you just may have manifest that on yourself. Many times we've talked about the spiritual journey as worry about yourself. Now, I see now the word worry needs to be removed. Absolutely needs to be removed. There is no worry. There is just yourself and all you are and all that you realize you have become using this life the way it's intended to be used. And the not-nilk's trick, at least on you, has failed. All right, let's take this next section and dive into some of the details. I'll look back over it. Some things may need a better or further explanation if anybody's only been here for a year or less. And one last time, guys, if what I just presented has any merit at all, it needs to hold up to criticism. I welcome criticism at this point. Of course, it needs to hold up to attacks from all sides. And if it can't, if it breaks down in any way, it's worthless. So bring the attacks on. It is absolutely time for that. Well, even the trolls bring an intelligent argument. Say, it was very interesting the way Matt presented this, but here's where I want everyone to know where Matt's going wrong. Is that the way the trolls make their presentations?
Like, let me tell you about Matt. Let me tell you about he's secret society. He's a Freemason. Let me tell you about Matt's past.
A troll is obsessed with personal attacks. There's almost never any merit or basis to what is being said or an objection to what is being said. So I even welcome hearing from the trolls. Or what I can do here is actually anticipate the problems or objections some of you may have and try to overcome them even before they're presented. Matt, is that a retrocausality? No, it's not a retrocausality, although maybe I'm actually hearing your future objections now before they're given. It could be. The first objection we talked about, Matt, you're missing Jesus. Okay, obviously, Matt, you're missing Krishna and Shiva and Vishnu and Kali. I'm not going to incorporate any religion into this. You know my thoughts on this. Okay, I'm glad Christians are here and other religions are here. We have a common enemy, the not-nilk. We're basically in the same foxhole. But I think religion is giving power away. This entire presentation is based on coming into a realization of one's own power and one's own spiritual nature that transcends this place without asking permission from a God. Sentence 2 here says, you begin to win or start to win. The first step is understanding that the version of you that's here on earth is not the whole of you. This is the higher self principle, and there's an inner knowing regarding the aspect of you that's potentially not here, but it's very hard or almost impossible to prove. The only thing that can be proven is to look at reality itself, and as we've said many times, reality gives itself away. What is it working so hard to do? Hannibal Lecter to Clarice Starling. What does he do, this man you seek? He kills women. That is incidental, Clarice, bitch. That is incidental. What does this not nilk do that we seek to understand? You can tell a lot about yourself based on what it wants to do to you. It wants to make you think that all you are is what's here on earth, the ego, the part that speaks in English, the frontal lobes, the body. The atheist has fallen for every bit of the not nilk trick. As discussed recently, being spiritual just means you realize you're more than this. I think that's the most basic and most appropriate definition. You can talk or criticize the atheist position. It doesn't mean you're assigned into a religion or given a religion like Islam, Christianity, Buddhism. Oh, that's not a religion. Whatever it is, I don't want to. It's the worst one of all because it dictates recycling, coming back, and karma. That's the worst thought process in the world to go into death. The worst thought process in the entire world is to think you got 40 days of bardos before coming back. As a powerful manifestor being, what chance does the Buddhist have? Being taught from day one, from birth, as they're going into the moment of death, that they've got like 10,000 more lives, and they don't even get to come right back into the body immediately. They got to go through this thing called the bardos, or Matt, that's just a Tibetan version. I don't know. I'm no Buddhist. I can't differentiate from the Beijing version, the Tibetan version, or the Taco Bell version. I don't care. But many go in. It doesn't matter. It's all your belief set, what you expect. They expect the bardos and 40 days of hell? Oh my God, they're just dooming themselves. So I've told you about this guy named Tony that has, he is somehow communed with his higher self, or again, not Matt, the Tony that you had a V'ger argument over. No, that's the other Tony. That's the Tony at the other end of the spectrum that believes everything that the Not Nilk serves up on CNN. The other Tony, and I don't just bow down to everything the other Tony says. The other Tony came to me with advice unsolicited. That's the difference. This is so fascinating to me. All the people, all the creeps that have reached out to me, there's always what is it called? A Faustian bargain. They look to posit in a certain way. Matt, do you really want to know? They tempt you in some way. It's always the same NPC or minion appeal. Matt, if you really want to know this, so just reach out to me. Then you have to extend a hand. It's some sort of Faustian bargain or something. It's like they're so. Tony just said, he just starts sending me emails. No, Matt, this is what you need to understand about higher self. Completely unsolicited, completely different in that regard. I don't just, again, bow down. Oh, Tony said this. What I tell you, you already know. They've hidden what we already know. It needs to come out. We all have this knowledge and information. Maybe that's the purpose of this incarnation, or the Anunnaki hid it, or whatever your belief set is. It's just letting out what we already know. So Tony would send me an email. Let me tell you what the higher self is up to, what it's doing, its intentions. A lot of it, the inner knowing just poured forth, said, that's right. What he's talking about here, I just know deep down that that's right. So I'll just tell you, I've talked about it before, what he says. The higher self, take it or leave it, but there's some truth to this, because I believe there's an aspect of me that's not here. That's one of the key bases in the entire half-page or full-page reality presentation. Tony would say there's something called higher self. That's you, okay? Think of it as not as something different. Think of it as you, whatever that means. 16 candles. Who are you? I'm him. Who's he? He's me. Same thing. It's placed what you know as you, your broke ass, into this reality system, and there's a lot of others going on at the same time, called a simultaneous incarnation. That's a higher spiritual level than a you, me, Dupree, and a Melvin P. That's a higher spiritual. You're higher up than these creeps. You know, I'm telling you that. Tony's told me that. But you know you are. Your inner knowing's telling you that right now. That's what's so beautiful about it. That's why you can put your feet up for the rest of the day and just sip your pina colada and enjoy yourself now. Somebody sent a comment yesterday saying, Matt, I'm so thankful you did this video. I'm so depressed. There's no reason to be, I know it's difficult. Look, what did I say at the beginning of this video? But the news for us, it's the best news of all time to come forward with these or to understand these realizations. There is no news, any information you could get at any time on earth that is better news than to coming into these realizations. Oh, you existed before birth. You'll exist after. This is a train stop. Everything we just talked about. You're way higher than you, me, Dupree, and Melvin P. It's the best news of all time. Think of that the next time you get depressed. Matt, is this news even better than winning the multi-state lotto? Yeah, it's better than winning the multi-state lotto times about 800 trillion. If the atheist wins the multi-state lotto, they can get jacked off in the back of a speedboat for about 12 more years, and then they go into the dirt forever. Some other person then goes into the bardos. They're fucked. So this life's basically over already. If you go out of this reality system, there's no such thing as time. It's all stacked on top of each other. It's all perception while we're here. Basically dead already from the perception of anything worthwhile outside this place. Who the hell would give a shit about the multi-state lotto? Matt, you were doing good. You're giving a serious presentation. Some people may be giving credence to your thoughts. Don't break down into the absurd again. I'll try my best. But this is typically where it goes. It's the only way to save myself mentally. A big part of the beginning part of this presentation is something we all know. It must operate through a trick. It must operate through deception. It's not a boxing match. You come into the ring, your opponent Clubber Lang, which is the Not Nilk on the other side, and you just go at it one-on-one. No, it must operate through a trick. Now, there's only one reason for that, only one possible interpretation, that ultimately you are responsible for if you win or lose. What is a trick? Why does one play a trick? A trick is a deception. It's to get someone to do something and choose it themselves, where that can't be forced on them. You trick somebody, I don't know, it's a bad example, trick somebody to go into door number 2 instead of door number 1, instead of grabbing them and throwing them through door number 2. If they're grabbed and thrown through door number 2, that's not a trick. The trick is getting them to do it themselves. Therefore, if the entire reality is based on a trick, you are very clearly responsible if you win or lose. Nobody but you. It can't doom you. You have to doom yourself. Now, this is basically the greatest news of all time, other than understanding who you really are and what we just talked about a minute. Matt, you can't present the greatest news of all time every 3 or 4 minutes. It loses effect. I hear you. Okay, but this is pretty damn good news. See, it's up to you. That's these old men in a chair, these disciples, these idiot truthers running around BitChute and Odyssey and Brighteon thinking, oh, the genocide's coming and they're going to do this. They can't do it to the masses directly. They lose if they do it directly. They lose everything. We win everything. There is some sort of game being played here between what the Not Nilk is designed to do through its minions. The minions are role players. They come, throw me down, and inject me or do whatever to me or put the Luciferian mayonnaise in me, and they chip my brain without my permission. They do it. Then, okay, maybe I've already won now, but I am guaranteed to have won everything. I win all the prizes, all the departing gifts for 25 or 30 years. I thought it was at the end of a game show. It was party gifts. No, departing gifts. I thought he said the partying gifts. Departing gifts at the end of Jeopardy. That's this. You son of a bitch didn't win, but you get this vacuum fucking cleaner. So you get everything if they violate the rules of this game. It's the greatest news of all time because you're responsible for winning and losing. No one else. It says here, all of science is its silver bullet in this regard. Through demoralization, learned helplessness. Yeah, science with the bookends of Darwin on one side and Einstein on the other. The scientists, they're not hoaxing it. They're interpreting the data that the reality gives. Okay, they're trying to do the best that they can. Most of them. Not everybody is Neil of the grass-fed. There's all sorts of astronomy professors at the university of this, the university of that. They're just collecting up the data that reality is giving them, but that data is false. It's not just the news. The whole reality is a trick. So you believe you're the body, of the ego. They're just interpreting the data. Then that further reinforces the nature of the trick that removes somebody from the spiritual self. The Vitruvian man cuts off his own arm because he no longer even pursues that side of the tug of war. One of my favorite things to talk about is that Richard Feynman, in the 60s or so, this guy came along who was a brilliant physicist, but he was the first guy ever that was this sort of scientist that actually had a personality. The first guy ever since Pythagoras that could actually make a classroom smile and laugh. So this guy was like a celebrity because none of these eggheads can do that. So he says, he makes his charismatic presentation. He looks into the camera and he says, if it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. You've heard him say that, Richard Feynman. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. Actually, Richard, that's dead wrong. Stop rolling around in your grave. That's totally wrong. Makes sense to most people what he's saying. A scientist proposes initially a theory. The sun is a Philly cheesesteak. There's actually a scientist somewhere at the University of Texas at Austin that believes the sun is a Philly cheesesteak. But then Feynman says, fine, you can have that theory. Then you experiment and you test. Does the data support your theory? Okay, if it disagrees with experiment, as most experiments on the sun would disagree that the fact that it's a cheesesteak, then it's wrong. But where is the data coming from, Richard? It's coming from a false reality itself. The well itself, where everything comes from, is false. It doesn't matter what data you're getting in. The data you're getting in and the experiment results will come to its conclusion, the false conclusion that it wants for real people. Richard, duh. It would be like that scene with, what was it, the lady in red or the woman in red in the Matrix? Neo goes in with Morpheus. I guess that it was a program. It wasn't the real Matrix. It was meant to simulate. It was a simulacra. I just learned that word. I feel so proud of myself. It was where they went to see the woman in red was a simulacra of the Matrix. Wrap your head around that. A simulation of a simulation of an original simulation. That's what this reality is, Matt. Anyway, assume it's the real Matrix. When the lady in red walked by and little, what's his name, Mouser was like, I can arrange a meeting. It's let's say Neo started taking out all his scientific devices and started testing atmosphere conditions and humidity, and Morpheus would walk over and say, what are you doing? This is the Matrix. It's all false. It's all being generated by the machine city. There's no reason to test anything. That's basically the situation we're in right now. Makes every scientist and any person that works at a university completely impotent. What if all the professors of astronomy and cosmology, at all the cosmology, not cosmetology, that's a beauty school, dude. Cosmology, the cosmos, astrology, not astrology. They don't have that in universities either, astronomy. But think of, I'm pretty sure all these professors at all the liberal bastion colleges, the real liberal hellholes like Bard College and Bryn Mawr College and Wesleyan and Colgate and Vassar. I know the bigger ones in like the Ivy League, they're liberal hellholes too, but everybody knows them. Did you know about Vassar and Wesleyan and Bard College is like the worst one? They're all listening to me. And their wives, let's say they're all men in this example. We can't flip-flop back and forth. They might have other partner choices. We're not going to get into that. I'm not discriminating against anyone's choices. Honey, what's the matter tonight? Honey, you're not able to perform. Well, there's this guy named Quantum of Conscience. He made a good point. He says, the entire basis of my life work is based on a lie and a trick. I want a divorce. Matt is starting to break down into a clown show. I'm sorry. Let's get back to serious discussion. The second part of my presentation, the main theme was, we're not done once we see through the trick. There was a time many years back where I thought that was basically enough. We see through it all. It's all bullshit. It's all a trick. We've won. And I did use that term too prematurely. I'm very convinced that the part two, the work, is even much more important. You don't really start doing the work to benefit the spiritual whole, mind, body, spirit, the whole of you. You don't really start doing the work seriously until you see through the trick. At least most people don't. I think that is an essential part one. Everybody around us will never see through the trick. So what chance do they have of accomplishing part two? if I'm just constantly yelling at Tony back and forth about V'ger, and it's not a billion miles past the Oort cloud or the Mork from Oort cloud or whatever, is he going to do the work he needs to do? No, he's likely going to be distracted by the same not-nilk tactics that everybody else is distracted on. And I don't want anybody to get confused here. I don't have any great panacea formula or code about the work. I want to stress how simple I believe it is. Of course, the internet in your research will tell you it has to be complex and confusing. What will the not-nilk facilitate if you go out to the internet and start doing research about spiritual work? And all this confusion will come by design. Matt, another not-nilk tactic? Yeah, in my opinion, it is. Shadow work. I don't even know. I've been doing this 14 years. I don't have a damn clue what that is, and I don't care what that is. I don't care about trying to rise my kundalini up so aggressively that just some kind of flames shoot out of my mouth. I don't know what that is. I don't care what that is. I don't believe I have to do releasing the chakras, or we don't have to be able to fly up into the air and go, oh, home, and spin around like Neo after he learned to fly. I don't think we have to do that stuff. You know, hey, somebody that practices Reiki or whatever, there's legitimacy to all that. It might help you feel better. It might help you live the next 20 years better. But is that stuff necessary for the spiritual whole, the part of you that always has been and always will be? No. It's simple, in my opinion. Like I said, if you want to believe I'm just too dumb to understand the other stuff, believe that. See, the whole reality is based on a complicated trick. So I'm going to think the work is complicated. No, I'm going to see it the opposite. The rule of opposites, the rule of ass backwardness is an axiom here in this reality. Everything is ass backwards to what the not-nilk makes it seem. It's not complicated. You have to just not let a rooster up the street bother you and not be fighting with your sister-in-law when she comes over on the holidays. And if you pass some trash, go walk back and go pick it up. And when you drive by a dead squirrel, you don't have to bless it and say like I do. You go to the little squirrel, you are a real beauty. You go to the next highest level. You don't have to be a complete psycho like me, but acknowledge it in some way. See it. That's what you have to do. Most people, they're on their phones. They're on their phones. Oh, my boss wants this. I gotta get back. Then I gotta go to Starbucks first because I'm gonna need a frappuccino because I got a big work. They will right past the dead squirrel. Look, Ma, dead squirrel. Fuck it. They don't give a shit about the road. Empathy, sympathy, becoming a better whole. What do you think that phone and driving while on the phone and holding an ice cream cone at the same time? It doesn't matter what would be dead on the side of the road. The person would be like, fuck it. It's a whole bus overturned. Fuck it. They don't care. That person's just following what the not-nilk wants, not becoming a better person. The work is simple, yet it's difficult. It has to be done every day and every single hour. I'll give you a personal example. I told this story recently to my stepfather. It'd be just a few minutes, but this is a great way to explain what I'm talking about here. And I was a Matrix creature. I was a Matrix child, of course. Job promotion. Send me out to Los Angeles. Oh, this place sucks. Job promotion. Running with the rat race. Of course, that's all there was in the 90s for me. Most of us went through it fine. But, okay, flying back and forth. The home office is in Wilmington, Delaware. And my office was in Los Angeles. So back and forth, and the flow was mostly before the 7-Eleven job application. So the flights were a little more empty, and it wasn't horrible. There was often a seat next to me. But you get tired of flying back and forth. Matt, how often did you do it? I don't know, like once a month for years, once every 3 weeks sometimes to another place like Houston, Texas. Okay, whatever. So this woman is walking up the aisle, and I guess it's a smaller, like a 757, just one aisle. And she just face plants, just like passes out, goes forward. Luckily, did not hit her head on the hard, where you put your arm, the armrest. She just face plants right into the aisle. Now, at that moment, I'm going to be very honest. It is horrible, but we're all monsters of the Matrix at one point. At that moment, I didn't give a shit about her well-being. This would have been 1996 or 1997. All I cared was the fact that we would not be diverted. I did not want to be diverted to Denver. And then 4.5 hours. Matt, you could go see the damn New World Airport Commission and the time capsule. I could have done that. But all I cared about was not being diverted. And I mean, it was like 99% to 1% over her well-being. Well, the boyfriend, the flight attendant, and says, "Is there a doctor?" and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, oh, we're going to be diverted. It's all I cared about. The boyfriend rushes up within 20 seconds and luckily says she does this all the time. She has a hypoglycemia, this and that. She passes out once a month, and we're flying, and she'll just, she'll be okay. They pulled her, actually. I'm in the bulkhead. There's just that wall in front of you. The first class and the Jerry Maguires are in the front. I'm back with the Jerry Maguire's assistant, and they pull her into the bulkhead, like right at my feet. And she, in 20 seconds or 30 seconds, she starts to come to. And she hit her head a little bit, but she was okay, and no diversion, if that's even a word. And I was like, oh, thank you. Just get your ass to Mars. But that's just wrong. I don't think that could. If it happened today, being honest, would I want to be diverted? And of course not. But I would much more care about me helping right away, or caring about that person much more today. Now, I still have work to do, but I'm trying to become the person my 25-year-old self wouldn't recognize. This is basically the work. Part 2. Matt, it can't possibly be this simple. Overcoming roosters and caring about people that pass out in the middle of flights. Yes, it is that simple. You want to think you got all this chakra work to do and go up 7 years in Tibet and you take care. It's all bullshit. Not that some of this stuff, again, like Reiki or energy work, it can help you in this life. We want to live the best life we can. We want to feel the best we can. But is it important to the whole of you? Trillion years on either side of this train stop? No, in my opinion, it's not. Is it necessary, that sort of thing, to become the butterfly? No. And as I'm writing that section, I'm thinking, okay, the caterpillar transforms via the pupa, and as I'm writing this into the butterfly, the transformation, that's why I think it's called the thing from 2020, C, the me, V, spell it out. C, but then the back part is the Greek poet, Ovid. Go see, that's the way I interpret it, go see the Greek poet, Ovid. Bot, the Greek poet, Ovid. The Greek poet wrote the famous Metamorphosis. Isn't that interesting? Go see Ovid, and then Ovid wrote Metamorphosis. So there's two types of metamorphosis, the caterpillar to the butterfly via the middle stage of the pupa or chrysalis, I believe it is. There's two different processes going on here. Once again, Matt, more duality? You believe that shit in this reality? It never does this. More duality. Our process of becoming from going from the caterpillar to the butterfly, but then there's a reverse process going on too, just like real boy Pinocchio back to wooden piece of shit Pinocchio. That's with the the metamorphosis, the Greek poet. They are the metamorphosis in the name of what was presented in 2020 is a reversed Pinocchio. The Not Nilk takes real boy Pinocchio via the people that fall for its tactics back into some sort of piece of wood, piece of shit. When I was writing about this transformation, at least our direction of the caterpillar or larva through the chrysalis or pupa emerging from the cocoon as a butterfly, in there somewhere I said one of the Not Nilk's Hail Mary tactics is so you don't ever emerge from the cocoon. And that's via what it can do with the distraction of the internet. It's almost like little George conducted a meeting a long time ago, and this kind of plays out in a similar way every single time. It's like, if we do these things, then this whole group over here is going to, wake up to it. And somebody then chimed in at the meeting and said, well, little George, I have a suggestion for that. See, they will wake up to it. They will see the sinister nature, the basis of the trick and what we're trying to do. But see, there's this thing coming. This meeting was like 1990. We have this thing coming called the internet. And these sons of bitches that are going to try to become the butterfly, we will give them so many steaming yellow breadcrumbs, billions upon billions of things to look at and chase. We'll give them everywhere from high-level conspiracy videos to cats banging on pianos. We'll give them everything so they never emerge from the pod. They never see, is the pod in the Matrix related to the chrysalis or the pupa stage? What did Hannibal Lecter call it when he's talking to Clarice? Was there anything, I can't do the voice, was anything placed in their mouth? Yes, Dr. Lecter, it was a moth. Oh, the moth represents transformation. That's what our Billy's trying to do. He's been a bad boy, this Buffalo Bill. Check all the centers for his type of transformation. We know what that's all about. Buffalo Bill would be highly accepted in today's society. I kid you not. But back to the meeting, let's say you're going to give people that are waking up this thing called the internet, so they're never going to come out of the cocoon into the butterfly. Yeah, they'll see through the trick, but then we'll have these breadcrumbs ready to go. See, it was the banking families, it was the Anunnaki, and it was the Rothschilds, and it was the Nephilim, and it was the reptilians, and it was the secret societies, and it was the whole rest of the police lineup. And then they're going to get these big yellow breadcrumbs, and they'll chase it, and we'll give them truth, and they'll think they're doing good, and they'll think they're exposing George Soros and all his nonprofits, and they'll never, these sons of bitches are never coming out of the cocoon, never making it to the butterfly stage. And little George and all the people around the table said, that's all we care about. As long as they don't emerge as the butterfly, we'll give them all the horse shit, and they'll believe they're winning, these dumb sons of bitches. Now, I'd written down something here that I did not work into the one-page reality, but the note was, it almost seems like reality is making it so there's no chance we want to come back. So this goes along with the C.S. Lewis divorce of reality. I stole the Great Divorce title from him because we're great divorcing the reality. It's all the same variation of the metaphor. Ship of fools sails, we get farther away from it, it gets more ridiculous, it becomes more clown show, it looks funnier to us, it looks stranger to us, we're separating from reality itself. There's a metaphysical separation going on. It's related to a spiritual separation. It's only going to look stranger to us as time goes on. But I thought maybe, to me, this is the way that reality is designed. As we've talked about, the first grade truther yells hijacked. It wasn't supposed to be this way. It's supposed to be fruit trees and lotion. And no, it's supposed to be this way, in my opinion. I think it's first grade truth. Just yell hijack. Star Wars needs Darth Vader. As we've talked about, realities like this need a bad guy. You need a bunch of assholes to learn from. They're role players here playing a role. So the note is reality making it so there's no chance we want to come back. Like how it's breaking down and how we're so disgusted with so many different parts of reality. It's kind of like seeing to it that we're so disgusted with it, we continue on this journey of separation. If going into next year we started McLoving society and culture and everything it presents, then maybe we wouldn't want to continue on this journey of separation. The final graduation, the final C.S. Lewis, I stole his title, Great Divorce, Great Spiritual Divorce. So let's just say things turned. I mean, the past 10 years, how disgusted are we with society and culture and what your friends and family think of it, and what, entertainment, and just Star Wars is horrible and the music's horrible, and we are disgusted from top to bottom. What if it turned? They actually just announced that there's going to be 3 more Star Wars movies. Now, some of these movies don't get made with the same character, Rey, the Mary Sue that can do everything perfectly. And let's just say of course we expect them to be absolute shit. They were as good or better than the 1977. And then all of a sudden, somebody went into the presidency that was actually likable or something, and then certain freedoms started to be. Look, it's not going to happen. Of course, it can't happen. Okay, it's the trajectory of reality. Reality has given itself away. I'm just saying, what if some things, or the pendulum swung back? Okay, I'm not saying this the proper way. What I'm really saying is, do we even want that? We might say, oh, I'm kind of liking this now. I'm kind of enjoying this part of life, and it just gets, for us, it gets worse and worse and worse. But what I'm saying is, this could be the design of it. And it's not the same for everyone, or what comes from that outer ring or screen, the outer ring of reality in the diagram, may not be the same, of course not the same in terms of the interpretation of how life is lived between me and my friend Tony, or you and your cousins. It's almost like it's by design, guys. Matt, that's the ultimate rationalization. That as things get worse and worse and worse, you're just saying it's actually by design so you continue your job in separating. That's as bad as that son of a bitch in that movie, A Beautiful Life, that said to his kid the concentration camp is like an amusement park or whatever. But that's the movie, A Beautiful Life. I'm talking about the old movie from the 90s. But Matt, that's a rationalization. I believe this is how reality works in some sense. We see through it. It's the great divorce. It breaks down in front of us. It gets more and more. But it has to get worse, the society and culture in its general presentation, because we have to see it through. We're not quite done with our journey. I think this is absolutely part of it by design. And ultimately, in that sense, it's a good thing. We've talked about going into the moment of death and manifesting what you expect to get. Do you expect the Bardos? Do you expect a recycling trick? Do you expect to have an amusement ride with David Icke where you both go up to the top of a Ferris wheel together? Whatever you expect going into the moment of death. What if it turned and Not Milk, Matt, you're giving the Not Milk some great ideas. If it restored a beautiful life to all of us and great sports and no more technology and everything, and it took replay out of football and all this great music started to come up and the Star Wars was as good as 1977, it might get some of us going into the moment of death going, I might miss some of that. It got really good the last 10 years. Matt, you're giving the Not Milk ideas. I don't think so. I think contractually it's a one-way ride. So as we real people see through it, it becomes more and more of a big fat enema. That's what I don't think it's ever going to turn back. But if it did, some people could go in and I'm gonna miss that, and they could they could create big Jacob Marley chains on themselves going into the see. If we're just we're already completely disgusted with it. But just say you're 40 years old. How disgusted are you going to be with society and culture's idiocracy when you get to the moment of death? There's not a chance you're going to come back to these reality systems. You're going to have a conversation with your higher self, say, get us the hell out of here. The Call the Fagari tribe. You know, the Call the Fagari tribe. Where the fuck are we? You say to your higher self. Tony let me have it when I did this a few months ago. He said, stop berating your higher self and seeing it as not you. Tony really gave it to me. He's like, and I do this just for fun. You'd say to your higher self going the moment of death, get us the fuck out of here. This place eats shit, and withdraw all the other. What Tony says, there's other incarnations that the higher self has put into different realities or different time periods, all happening at the same time. I got to go watch that piece of shit Everywhere, Everything, All at Once, Bojo Tubaki or whatever the damn girl's name was, Everything on a Bagel, and the way that the Not Milk pushes that artificially for some reason. I have to go back and watch Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it was beloved by 15% of the truth community. They came to me in droves and, Matt, you've got to see this. I wasn't that impressed at all. Maybe there's some truth in it that I missed. Maybe it's both. That there's Not Milk deception and truth, and that's what it is. And I have to go back and take a look at it because the Not Milk is pushing it. And they made that horrible, horrible actress, Michelle or Rachel Ye or whatever her name. She's terrible, absolutely terrible. Even Jamie Lee Curtis was better in that movie. So I have to go back and watch that to see what they're pushing there. But it's like, well, maybe it's not like the simultaneous incarnations, but Tony would say, you know, we've got you here. You're Matt McKinley. You're the conspiracy son of a bitch that the higher self has in this reality. But then it might have a Civil War private, and it might have somebody in the Stone Age, if that exists, or whatever, just different, all happening at the same time. There's no time outside this reality. And the higher self is collecting up information, hopefully not using us like the metaphor potentially coming from the Apple TV series Severance. That would kind of suck. But then, you know, hey, you could say to your higher self, get us all out of here. Not just get us all out of here. We're done with this horse shit. So that brings me to the video I made, 8-10 months ago. I think about it all the time. This incredible wave of nostalgia. And I'm torn. It could be one or the other with the incredible nostalgia that real people feel at this moment in time. Greg doesn't really do much truth stuff anymore. I don't know if he just can't take anymore or but what we have in common now. is we will talk about the past and what we did in our 20s and 30s and things like that. And I'm torn with this nostalgia. Is it okay? Is that like, does the Not Nilk want me doing that? Is it like rooting to it or creating more chains to it? I don't think so. Okay, I'm torn to a degree, but to me, it's this. The nostalgia is so massive in real people. Let me give you an example. I've told you examples like this before. I'll find something like, I find a sock that Belle threw up on, or I used to clean up Belle's throw up, and there's whatever it may be. I'll say, oh, Belle threw up on this sock. I'm going to keep it forever. Like not washing my face. Some young girl said, because Sean Cassidy gave me a kiss, I'll never wash this side of my cheek again. And when I do dusting, because Bootsy was a true long hair, the huge swaths of hair everywhere, I still it'll be coming for months and months. I'll dust or whatever, I'll sweep up and then get a big thing of hair, and I'll say, that's you, Bootsy, and I'll be nostalgic. I almost want to save the hairs. I mean, I don't save them. I throw them out, but it's this, I'm sorry, Bootsy, and I'll talk to the hair like a total freak. And I thought, okay, this is actually a good thing, though I'm torn, because this is a recognition that we're done with this. See, if you know you have 10,000 more, deep down, your higher self knows what's going on. Or if you don't believe that, deep down, your inner knowing, your unconscious mind is far more powerful and insightful than the part that thinks in English. We know that. So that there's no nostalgia in, like my friend Tony, with this reality. And more people don't act the way we're acting, and if you have this incredible nostalgia the way I do. If you don't have the incredible nostalgia, or don't want to hold, Bootsy, this is Bootsy's hair, I'm going to keep it forever. If you're not, it doesn't mean you're not real. Well, I guess we all express things in a different way. But I don't think like my friend Tony would ever do that, or maybe somebody that, if you might not believe in reincarnation or just doing it over and over again, like the Bardos and the Buddhists, but maybe their higher self has so many more things to participate in, so many more reality systems, so much more work they have to do. To me, the nostalgia is almost like an announcement, like, we're done here. And, knowing we're completely done here, there is going to be a natural degree of nostalgia. Like even like looking at a flower, if it's starting to shrivel up, because it's, even the daffodils out here, they come out in February. They're the first flower up. A crocus is actually the first one up, little purple crocus. And then a week later, the daffodils start to come. But their cycle's over in about a week or two. And as they start to droop over, I'll be nostalgia about them. Hey, Miss Daffodil. I'm not going to cry over them, but I'll be nostalgic. Like, it was nice to see you while you were here, Mr. Daffodil, whatever it may be. And I think this nostalgia is very natural. Truly, if you're ready to graduate the whole of you out of something like Earth. I still am torn a bit. Like, is this creating a tie to it in a way, or a chain, or I'll fix that. I'll fix that. In a way, it would like us to do that. But I think the other side of this interpretation is more appropriate. When you know you're truly done with something, the last day of high school, it hits you. You don't give a shit maybe the week before. Maybe you didn't give a shit that we were so young, we probably didn't care the day of, but whatever it may be, the last day of this, it's done. You give that a little look back. Here we go again. Don't look back. So we'll evolve this over time. For now, the nostalgia, I think it's fine for right now. And if I find another piece of Belle's or Puss's yak or a dried up turd somewhere, I'll probably want to keep it. But it is natural right now for an entity that's completely C.S. Lewis great divorcing a reality system. Thanks for listening.